People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on.
It's only right, with Eze making the right decision. I got Dan Potts in the building. What you saying, my guy? It's mad being an Arsenal fan, isn't it?
Yeah, man. 24 hours can change a lot of things, bro. Do a full
I was on your
360.
team, amen.
I'm real, man. 180, 360, if you want to call it. And yeah, big up to Palace, man. Ian Wright and Eze. Yeah, a big fan of them, man. It's not all London clubs of hatred, you know what I'm saying?
Facts, man. I mean, let's before we obviously get into Eze and everything, yeah. I think, we have to cast our minds back to it's probably 72 to 48 hours now. But, you did your content. I did mine. Every other Arsenal content creator did what they were doing. Obviously, every Arsenal fan has had their opinion. We weren't exactly happy. Like, do you think we have to say somewhat sorry to Arsenal because they've just pulled a rabbit out the hat, man?
Yeah, we do, man. We do. We need to... I think what we have to do is realize that you have to try and judge until the end of the window. And that's one of the hardest things to do, bro, because we're wrapped up in the emotion of it, aren't we? We're angry, we're sad, we're over happy, we're over sad. I think some people are going overboard now, giving this a 10.5 out of 10 window. There's other people that are saying this is still a 5 or 6 out of 10 windows. You're never going to please everybody and you're always going to allow people to be overexcited. But I think we've got to be real here. This is an exceptional signing. It would have been even if Spurs had any involvement at all. So I think we do have to say big up to Andrea Berta, because I think a lot of people have sort of said, what's he going to do? Is he going to come in and be on fraud watch? Is he going to come in and take us to a new level? I never see Arsenal signing 7 players, DG, I've got to be honest. It's so I think you do have to apologise and say, maybe we were too kind of rash when we said that this is a bit of shambles of a window. I still don't think it's anywhere near a 9 or a 10, because I still think we're missing a marquee signing, which we can talk about, I'm sure. But I do feel like this has made a lot of unhappy Gooners happy, if that makes sense. So I think there'll be a lot of kind of maybe if it's not even apologising is the right word, maybe it's looking at things a bit differently now and saying maybe we need to calm and just let these guys do their job and judge at the end of the window instead of with a couple of weeks left, because that's essentially what we did. We were like, this is going to end up being a bit of a shambles of an ending. And football in 24 hours, things can change massively in a transfer window, because that is something.
You're crashing out on your channel. You're right, man.
Well, listen, it was a mess. Like, everyone was absolute at head loss, and then
including myself.
I think it helped because it was Tottenham. I think that massively helped. If this was a U-turn with a team like a West Ham or an Everton, maybe a Newcastle, don't think it would be quite as sweet. But it's Tottenham, so it's always funny as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So I thought it was a brilliant day, man. And it was a day for content, Arsenal and Spurs. Like, Spurs' head loss was absolutely amazing.
Spurs fans were amazing, man.
They were, man. I watched them all. And the Arsenal fan base are really happy, man. So yeah, it's been a brilliant day for Arsenal. And I hope that we can get across the line today and announced.
You mentioned certain things that I want to hone in on, yeah, but like obviously the players and what we've signed and what that means for Mikel Arteta and the question marks over him in delivering the Premier League is one thing which we'll get into, yeah. But if we isolate Berta for a second, obviously Edu left in like November, Berta's coming in March. He's still got to get some outgoings in, but life has come very quickly for him. And you mentioned it there about 6 or 7 signings. What do you make of him individually? Like, could you argue, regardless of how the season pans out, he's done his job? Obviously, needs to get some players gone, but he's kind of done, quote unquote, all he can.
I loved Andrea Berta's appointment, so I'm obviously going to be a big fan of what he's done this window. But it started a little bit bang average, if I'm honest. I wasn't a huge lover of the Kepa signing, whereas some people were. I didn't really understand the Madueke signing. The Zubamendi signing, I wasn't really judging him on. Looked like we were going to get Sesko, and I wasn't a fan of him. And when we brought in Norgard and Mosquera, I'm thinking this is all cute and that, but how many of these signings are going to be playing? Because at the moment, they're all just replacing the likes of Raheem Sterling and Jorginho. I want to get in replacements for Havertz and Martinelli and these man. So I was looking a little bit. Maybe I've gone too soon on Berta. Maybe I've overhyped him. Maybe I thought he was a great guy. Maybe he's just a bang average guy.
That's how I
But
felt when I was on your platform, literally a couple of days ago. That's exactly what you said there. I
yeah,
thought maybe I'd jump
and
the
it, and
gun
it
still.
was. I think a lot of people said on that show, like maybe he's on fraud watch because we haven't seen enough yet. And I'm not saying the Eze signing now means that he's the best I've ever seen, but at the same time, if you add that up with what he has already brought in and the job that he's had to do, I think it's a very difficult first kind of job for him. Like he hasn't just had to bring in 2 players that everyone thinks is great, and we all think, oh, hell, praise the Lord, he's
Dealing with
fantastic.
contracts as well.
He's had to deal with contracts. He's had to player sales, which is at the moment a question mark of how well he's done there. He's still players to leave. We've obviously brought in an unbelievable amount of players. I didn't expect 7 players to come in. I thought we needed 7 or 8. I did say that. I said I think we need 7 or 8 with who's going to leave and what we need to be doing in the squad to be going for all 4 competitions. But I've got to be honest, I don't feel like there's kind of anyone that can say that this has been a shambles of a window. I think, when you look at it right now, the players we've brought in, whether you are a big fan of them or not, I don't look at them and go, wow. But what I look at them and say is, are they upgrades on what we already had? Because that's what we've got to look at. Yeah. Definitely need marquee signings coming into the first 11. And I think Zubimendi, Gyökeres and Eze will do that. I'd like one more, which we'll touch on later. But the other players that have come in, they're not going to start. But are they better than the guys that were on the bench last year? I would argue they were. I think, as much as I thought Neto was a shambles in the first game and I didn't see a lot of him, I saw more of Kepa last year and I know who's the better goalkeeper. I think they're both pretty poor, but I'll take him over Neto. Mosquera's better than Tomiyasu because he's fit.
Because available,
so that's like an upgrade and he's available. Like if they're both fit, I'd take Tomiyasu. But if they're seeing as they're not, you've got to take Mosquera, who's the young and up and coming. Norgard or Jorginho, I'd probably just say Jorginho, but Norgard's going to be fitter and going to be younger and going to have that
like the
kind
Tomiyasu point you just
leadership.
made.
Precisely, yeah. Thomas Partey, I don't know that Zubimendi's better, but he's certainly not miles worse. Madueke is an upgrade on Nelson and Sterling. Eze is an upgrade on, to be fair, any of the left wingers we've got. And I actually would say he's a better attacking midfielder than Ødegaard right now. And then you've got Havertz, who's definitely, Gyökeres is an upgrade on him. So I don't think that we're looking at any of these signings going, well, he's worse than him, or he's worse than him. Might as well have kept Sterling, or might as well have kept Neto, or might as well have kept Jorginho. I don't think I've done that of anybody yet. Now, that doesn't mean that it's an exceptional window because, people giving it 9s and 10s. A 9 and a 10 would be if we'd signed Isak, Rodrygo, and Wirtz on top of what we got. Do you know what I mean? That's a 10. So for me, I think we're a long way off a 10, but I certainly do look at the moment saying that anything for between, a 7 to 7.5 is fair. I don't think with player sales, you've got to judge that as well. With player sales and a one marquee signing coming in, I know we're greedy, but that's what we need to go and win the league.
We need to be greedy, man.
I think we can start giving it 8s and 9s if we start doing that. So, I still think there's a few days to go, and I trust in Berta because I think he's done a really good job to start with, man. I really do.
You're right there, man. Do you know when we came into this market, we heard unprecedentedness and goosebumps. I hear what you're saying, and you make a good point in that. I don't think anybody is anyone's going to pull up any trees about Mosquera and Kepa and Norgard, but everyone can say, you know what, cool, we did cry about depth. You've got them. Obviously, me and you have spoken on your channel and mine. You know how gassed I am about Zubimendi. I actually think he's going to be better than Thomas Partey. We're all gassed about Gyökeres because we thought we'd go and turn around and get Sesko, and nobody could see Eze coming in. So when I hear goosebumps and unprecedentedness, naturally I'm pessimistic. But the 3 big boy signings, probably the biggest of the shirt sellers, will probably be the ones I'm looking at. What do you give? What do because you spoke on it, and I think you just said 7.5 out of 10 so far. Like, what do you give this window if you had to grade it? And do you think this is like what this comment says, the best signing in the last 10 years, or better yet, I'd say the best market we've had in the last 10 years, Dan? Because I can't tell you a last time we did stuff like this, if I'm honest.
Yeah, this is the best transfer window I can remember in a long time. I mean,
a long time.
Yeah, a long time. I can't think back to one where I was like, wow. So this is, the best for me. And I would give it a 7.5. To make that an 8, 9 or 10, we'd have to get rid of the deadwood and we'd have to put Saka and Saliba on their contract, like renewals. And we'd have to go and get a marquee signing like Rodrygo. That would make it a 9 or a 10 for me. I can't give it 9s at the moment when we've got Fabio Vieira, Lokonga, Zinchenko, and these men still here. Transfers are about ins and outs, right? So when you look at the outs, We've still got work to do, but there's still time. It's not like the window's shutting tomorrow. I think we've got 9-10 days. So in that time, I expect some of these names to be leaving. Fabio Vieira, I expect to go. Lokonga, I expect to see some of the others out as well. So I think if he does that, he gets Saka and Saliba signed up long term, which is rumours to be fairly close if you believe the rumours. And then I just want one more. And I think that last one, if it blows everything out the water, I think everyone will be giving it 9s. Because if we was to be able to get a proper left winger on top of what we've already done, I think we're covered in all areas, man. I don't think there's any excuses then.
It's a techie one, Dan, because on one hand, I don't feel it's a 10 out of 10 window, but in terms of competencies, I can't sit here and say I've seen too many times we've made 6 or 7 signings. You know my thoughts, because I said on your platform, on one hand, I give the club credit where due for addressing these areas, but then on the other hand, you had last summer to do this, you had January to do this. So while I'd still applaud you, you've given yourself no leg to stand on. Like you mentioned, left wing and striker in previous years, we could get away with maybe doing one of the two, but because you haven't done what's needed to be done, if you really want to give us goosebumps and get over the line and all the buzzwords that people have come out with, I think you need to do these things. And then I look at it in isolation. I feel we've got 3 game changers or level raisers. I've said my thoughts on Zubimendi. I think he's one. I don't think anyone can doubt Gyökeres is one. And obviously Eze, we'll get onto him, Eze specifically in a bit, but I feel those 3. And then you've married all the other areas. But then you've made a great point, and I know there's still a long way to go and things. Outgoings, like we still haven't got anyone of significance gone. I know there's some like isolated cases, like for all the rumors with Jesus, no one's gonna buy him when he ain't kicked a ball and he's injured and things like that. A couple other men have injuries and whatnot. So yeah, I do think it's hinging on outgoings. And then I want to ask you this, because I think it's a weird one where the papers are concerned, because we were led to believe, you cover the Arsenal news, it's all sell to buy and PSR and apparently Champions League PSR. And, we're not going to bring someone in if it isn't for Martinelli or Trossard leaving. And then, we've just come with this Eze stuff and it's accelerating quickly. So it's like, what's said in the papers and what's going on in reality? Like, do you find it a bit weird? Do you think Arsenal really, for when they tell us about FFP and we've got no money, is it a case of they can do it, they just don't do it for you? Because we just spent 60 odd million on Eze without any outgoings of significance.
So there's 2 things to that, right? First of all, I'm not saying David Ornstein, Romano, and Ben Jacobs know less than me. I ain't got a Scooby what's happening, right? As we saw in the last 24 hours. What it proves is they have about as much knowledge as us as well at times. Like they have zero idea what's going on. Like, because when you pretty much shouting about, oh, there's nearly a here we go for Eze to Spurs, and this happens, it proves they actually don't know. They're just getting told some stuff like we are, right? So they know a hell of a lot more. They've got a hell of a lot more contacts. I'd hate to do that job. Actually, one of the worst jobs I can think of, really, because
especially with social media,
all of your reputation on the line, and it's just a horrible place, social media, right? So I wouldn't like to do that. But I do look at the scenario of the last couple of windows, and I think some of these guys have got very, very credible reputations, and they've really dropped some stinkers, man. Like they really have. So I think when you look at it, Arsenal right now, it proves that it was nonsense about PSR, which I always believed anyway, because I was told by Kieran Maguire, who knows more finances than me, that Arsenal were fine. I don't know what people are scared about. When we signed Madueke, everyone said, well, they will have to sell someone out if they want Eze. I'm like, Arsenal must be stupid if they have £52 million and they go, Madueke or Eze, can't have both. We'll go Madueke. So I'm like, that just
always told the power is dry.
So yeah, and I said, I'm happy with the Madueke signing if he's cover. I don't care that he costs 52 million. It doesn't bother me how much we spend. I'm not an accountant, right? But at the same time, if we've chosen Madueke over Eze or Rodrygo or both, I'll be really pissed. And we haven't. We haven't. So we bought Madueke in as cover. Calm. We need cover for Saka. Eze is going to be playing more left and central than right. So we've now got 2 players that have come in there, England internationals, that have both boosted our squad. So it's actually worked okay. But when you listen to the journalists, they're like, well, they've got to sell because they bought Madueke first. It's bollocks. It's absolute rubbish, isn't it? So we bought both of them now and haven't sold anybody. The other thing I'll say quickly is when people give it a 7 and 8 out of 10 window, that was Marino, Calafiori and Sterling. That was 7 or 8 out of 10, right? So how can they say this is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 window last season? I'm thinking these guys are smoking something. That was a horrific window. It was one of the worst windows I've seen in the history of the club. and then January added on top of it was like a -1.
January the worst, even
How
worse
can
than
we
when we
say
only got check.
Yeah, exactly. So it's no wonder that they're giving it a 10 or an 11 out of 10 now, these people that give it an 8 last window, because they can't go any higher. So my point is they clearly went too high and they're like, shit, I'll give that one an 8. I have to give this one a 10. So like that's where it is now. So for me, that's why this is a 7 out or 7 or an 8 out of 10 window is this window now, not the one bloody before. That was a bloody 4 or 5, I think I give it. Yeah. So
Lewis
this is
Kelly
where
took the
I'm at.
left back spot last year.
Yeah, man. We bring in a Rodrygo now. You can start shouting 9s or whatever you want, in my opinion. That's an unbelievable window. And that's my opinion. Like people's opinions is like we could have signed Isak and nobody else, they would give it a 10. You know what I mean? We would have had just Isak and covered no other position. 10. We got the best striker in the Premier League. This is the problem. We got to remain a little bit humble, man, and say, look, there's a lot of, if you put R11, it's very strong. There's at the moment, if everybody's fit, there's question marks about who starts at left back and who starts at left wing. That's the 2 question marks. You can look next season and say potentially, if we don't get a left winger this summer, we'll have to look at a left winger and a left back in the summer coming, like the next summer or January. And then you might have to look at backup striker if the injury to Havertz and Jesus is bad. But that's it. Everything else is done. You don't need 7 players you're going into next summer now. And this is why this summer's been good, because we've got the cover, we've got the player, we've got the marquee signings. Zubimendi, Gyökeres, Eze, I think they all walk into the first team. You can then debate who you want at left back. I think it's a good thing, man. Like I like where the squad is, and unfortunately, I hate saying it because people don't like me saying it, but he's put an unbelievable amount of pressure on himself now. The manager, unbelievable amount of pressure.
Let's touch on that because obviously, Berta's done his job. Again, I don't know where Arsenal fans are or where anyone else was, but fair enough. Many Arsenal fans couldn't picture Eze, Gyökeres, Zubimendi, the whole depth thing. I don't know if we'll bring somebody else in, but the hope that, if a couple dominoes fall in terms of outgoings, we can maybe get a Rodrygo or Malik Fofana or something like that. And we can finally begin to have a long-term squad where kind of what you're saying, we don't need 6 or 7. We might become accustomed to like the caliber of Eze or better and things of that ilk. But then like, obviously, there was pressure before we signed anybody. There's obviously going to be pressure when you've got these players in, because people can go, you know what, when it's all said and done, Berta's been here since March. He's delivered. There's even more pressure. Like, how much pressure is there for us, in your opinion, to win the Premier League? And how much of a difference, in your opinion, does Eze make in relation to that?
Eze is an unbelievable signing for what we want to achieve. I mean, Igal, big up to Igal yesterday. I was with him.
He's had a blinder.
He has had a blinder, man. He has had a blinder. We need to give him praise because he gets enough stick. But I'm not really a stats man. Maybe the chat is, maybe you are, bro. But for every 100 touches in the Premier League, a shot and an assist has come off the back of those 100 touches of 5 players. Cole Palmer is one.
Sound good.
Yeah. Mo Salah is another. And then the other 3 players are Eze, Madueke, and Saka. So for every 100 touches those individuals get, they take the most shots and most assists in the Premier League. So they're brilliant. That's brilliant, right? And 3 of the players in the top 5 now play for Arsenal. There is no excuses now, because now it doesn't say they score off of every one of those shots, by the way, but they obviously, with the names and the caliber of those names, they do score quite often, right? Saka, Eze get good goals. Palmer and Salah we know about. That is a pretty impressive stat. So I think there has been some, stat DNA looked at into it. Yeah. I'm not really a lover of that. I don't really like that because I think that can be, I do the eye test, but I also do what's up here. Like, this guy's got good stats for this department, but what's he like mentally? So I always worry and question some of that. However, when the stats are looking at you there saying that these 5 players are the top in the Premier League for the most amount of shots taken and the most assists in the Premier League, that with already 100 touches, we've got 3 of them in the top 5. So there's no excuses this season. So the pressure's on. When you said how much pressure was on Mikel Arteta to win the Premier League, he's under pressure to win anything, mate. Like, he has to win something. Like, I know some people are saying it has to be the Prem. I take the champs over the Prem anyway. However, they're the 2 that I think he probably has to win one of those 2.
That shuts a lot of people up, myself included.
Brother, if he wins the Champions League, no one can talk to us because we're already bigger than City and Chelsea. They just don't think that we are. Once we win the Champions League, it deads any argument about us being bigger than those 2 clubs. Not that it's about being, because we're never going to catch Liverpool and United unless we go and win like 15 leagues in a row, right? So when you look at it, I've got to look at the realistic chances. If I said to you right now, right, that's it, Mikel Arteta's got to win the Champions League or he's got to go. That's incredibly harsh. We've never won the Champions League, right, as a club. So I can't point the finger and say, you must win the Champions League. I can't look at him and say, you must win the Premier League, because Liverpool are an unbelievable side. Manchester City are back. They look good. What I can do is say, you have got the tools to win a trophy. Don't let me down. Because he's got to win one of them domestic cups and challenge to the end. He can't go
as a minimum.
Yeah, at a bare minimum. He can't go and win a Carabao Cup and come 5th. He can't go win an FA Cup and come 4th. He can't go and win, absolutely nothing. He's got to go and challenge to the last couple of games of the season with the team that wins the league, if he doesn't win it himself, and win either a Champions League or one of the domestic cups. That's the bare minimum, DG. I can't have any of this. Oh, when he comes second and we got to a final, not good enough. He's got to prove he can do this. Can he do that? And that's where I'm at. Can you get me across the line with this team? And I don't know that he can, man. I just don't know that he can. So he's got the tools now. There's no denying that this squad is good enough to win a trophy. Look, Palace, Newcastle, Spurs, Chelsea, Man United have all done it before him. Yeah, I know he's done it 5 years ago, but with this team, they've all managed to win it in the last couple of years before he has. So I need to see now him go, this team's good enough. I'm going to take every single competition seriously because I've got unbelievable depth. I've got Ethan Wanyeri and Max Dowman coming through with now Madueke on the bench. Martinelli and Trossard, one of those or both of those are going to be on the bench. Havertz, the guy I played for the striker for the last 2 years, is now my sub. Jesus, when he's fit. We've got Norgard and we've got Marino and we've got the likes of Mosquera and Timber and White that are fighting for places. Calafiori. This is
We dreamed of this.
Great backup, man. Yeah? So, I don't know, man. I feel like now he has to take these seriously and get across the line, bruv.
I'm bang with you. I think City, I've said City and Liverpool are above us. I must admit, I'm not expecting Eze to be the Messiah, but a styling like Eze, maybe I'm still excited, but it makes me be a bit hypocritical and think, you know what, maybe the stars are aligning. I want to be easy with all of that. You made a great point. I think, it depends what video people sees from us, but you either get called positive, negative, balance. You're a Mikel Arteta sexual, you're a Mikel Arteta out brigade, top gooner, bottom gooner. I think when that's all said and done, everybody can understand. Yeah, it would be fair to say we in the last 2 years in the Champions League, we've got to the quarters and semis and had a good campaign. Didn't end how we wanted it to. Second probably was a false image because I think on average we were 7 points behind Liverpool, but we still finished second in our worst of the 3 years, and we've been flirting with it. We've had a year where we've ran it down to the last season. Everybody brings out all the defensive stats. We cry about goal scoring, but we're good for 90 to 100 goals. We're a problem from set pieces. And, I think we got more points at one point than the Invincibles, most points in the calendar year. These things are all great. And I'm not saying this to critique the team, but I do think people want to make their bed, but not lie in it. If you see all of these things and you rate what the manager's doing and you rate what the club's doing, because let's have it right, from when Arteta walked into where we are now, when it's all said and done, we are better. But we flirted with it. Now it's about shattering that glass ceiling. And Mikel Arteta knows this because he talks about trophies. And every player, even Saliba with the training session the other day, speaks about winning. And I think Arteta made a comment of he said something along the lines, Dan, of the team the manager that the team needed 4 years ago is very different to now. And we do hear that the pressure externally that all of us feel is very different internally, but there's no way around it. You have to have trophies. I think you made a fair point in that, you have to ideally win the Prem, because I think either the Prem or Champs just shuts up everyone, including rivals, but you have to make a good push at it. Even if it's a thing where you've got 99 points and the team above you's got 100, some would still want you gone, because there is that fair conversation that, Arteta, you've been all right, but we need to shatter through that ceiling. When it's all said and done, we haven't seized the present, as everybody knows, really. And if that is the case, Arteta can leave with his head held high. You fixed up the club, someone else come in to get us over that line. As I was saying though, Dan, man, you made a good point about you got a challenge at the very minimum in the Prem, ideally win that. We'd all love the Champs. You have to win a domestic trophy. Now, that's you, because you're one of the more balanced kind of fans, right? But do you think, like, let's just say, boom, he's had a respectable finish, come second again, ole, all that crap. He's won a league cup or an FA Cup, if not both. Do you think that'd be enough to appease people? Like, he gets one more year, or is it a case of you save face or we're angry with you, but at the end of the day, you've got some level of silverware now?
I think you made a good point about the external and internal pressure, and I think that's the best way to answer this, because I genuinely do not think that's aligned. I think that Mikel Arteta could go a season without a trophy and finish top 4 and keep his job with the Cronkies.
Same.
You believe that? I truly do believe you're bang on there, and I think that's a worry, which is why my kind of question mark is now with the ownership, not the manager. I've had enough questioning the manager. The manager keeps proving that he can't get across the line, right? So I'm kind of done with, is he right? Is he not right? Like, he can try and keep proving us wrong. But in my opinion, I do think that there's something wrong there, a stumbling block in terms
Until he
of
shows
mentality.
different.
Precisely, until he can prove it. I hope he goes and wins a quadruple, mate. Do you know what I mean? This ain't about being right or wrong. This is about Arsenal being successful, right? So
Fact.
for me, when I look at what Arteta could do at Arsenal, you said to me now, what would you like him to do? I'm not going to say, oh, I hope he fails. We get Enrique in. Oh, well, give me the quadruple, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I want. So I think when you look at it now, the Cronkies have proven that he doesn't have to win something to keep his job. He just has to compete and challenge. And that is why the ownership are essentially the biggest problem at the club in terms of the lack of ambition. Now, I'm absolutely with you in terms of look at what they've spent. It's not that they don't spend money. It's not that they haven't been interested in spending money or allowing it to be
enable in
spent.
the culture.
Precise. And look, if I said to you, DG, right, I'm just going to take over this football club. I've got £1 billion. I'm going to spend 600 million on this team. And I give the people that have no idea about football £600 million, and they go and spend 150 on Maguire, 250 on Johnny Evans, 350 million. Then I'm going to be. They're not. Who's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I've spent the money. Yeah, but you've given it to a moron who's gone and spent it on ridiculous money. That's the scenario of the Cronkies, in my opinion, which is why we've had players like Mustafi here, etc. Right? I won't go into the list because there's a long list of them.
PTSD, man.
Yeah, so the owners have got the lack of ambition, which is why I think essentially they're the biggest problem. Where I think they've done something different this season is they've gone, look, we're going to hold our hands up and say that we haven't got a bloody clue. However, I think you might, Andrea Berta. So you now take the wheel alongside Mikel and help what he needs. Now, I don't think Andrea Berta has signed all 7 of those. I think Mikel Arteta has had a massive say in quite a lot. Yeah. Madueke, Zubamendi. I think the only ones that you can put and steer towards Andrea Berta would be Eze, because he clearly swooped in when Levy was mucking around. Gyökeres, without a doubt, because Sesko was wanted by Arteta. And Mosquera, because he's been highlighted in the Liga by Andrea Berta, clearly. I think the others, Norgard sounded like Arteta, Madueke sounded like Arteta, and Zubamendi was Arteta because we wanted
clearly working together.
Even coming, right? So I think they've done half and half, and I'm looking forward to seeing what those players now and judging them. I think we've still got to see them a lot more, by the way. I mean, I like what I see from Zubamendi. Mosquera's impressed in his glimpses. Obviously, Norgard had good and bad games. Kepa likewise. You've got Madueke, who's not really settled in yet. Neither is Gyökeres. So I think it will be interesting to see how Eze fits into the mold and where he plays too. But I think no matter who you are as a football fan, whether you support Arsenal or not, there is not one Arsenal fan or football fan that says to me, Arteta, he doesn't have to win anything, by the way, because he's still top quality. He's still the guy
some good
that's
football
here for 5-6 years. Doesn't matter in 5-6 years if Arsenal's still not won something. He's done a brilliant job. And from 8th to 2nd, I think he deserves a statue and we should give him a 10-year contract. There's nobody that says that, right? They all say he's got to win. And that's right. Football's about winning trophies, man. It's not about competing.
At least for us at this moment now. We've done everything else.
Facts. And the fans have got to look at themselves because across a 2-decade period, we've hounded out the most successful manager. Told Unai Emery, get out, you're no good for coming 8th. And in the same period of time, have said, well, he got to a cup final and got us 1 point off a 4th. Arsene Wenger's 22 years of Arsenal has been the most successful in history. And we're still trying to get into our first trophy under this guy with this team. We got to keep the same standards, in my opinion. And I think the last 5 years of Wenger were more successful than
so close as well.
We are, and that's if we were like nowhere near, I think people would just be like, "What's he doing here? Like, what are they doing? He's trying, bless him, but he ain't good enough." This guy is so close. This team is so close. That's made it more frustrating for me. Is that like
because we flirted with it
across the line?
We flirted with it. You look at City, you look at the second place finishes, you look at the year-on-year improvements in the Champions League, you look at even not last season, the season before, the run-in towards the end when we lost it on the last day. We're flirting with it. And we do talk a lot about fine margins. That's actually why I like Zubamendi, because I remember when we was in either Singapore or Hong Kong, he had an interview and he said, yeah, this club needs to learn about the fine margins. It's about time to deliver. So if the managers are saying it, the players are saying it, who are we? And if anything, the only people that deserve this more than the fans are the players, because they're the ones riding riding the highs and lows, and I will give them that. They do pick themselves up again and again, but at some point the mental fatigue is going to set in, and maybe for Mikel Arteta and for the players, sorry, you might have to try something else. At some point, we can't keep doing the same things. And for me, I've got a lot of love for you, Mikel Arteta, for what you've done, but I love my club the most, and I feel if you rate Mikel Arteta, everything that me and Dan have been saying, I think these are valid claims, and I also feel, respectfully to him, if you was Arsene Wenger or Klopp or one of these Jose, one of these guys, I could understand the small sections of fans that have that kind of blind loyalty, but you haven't earned that credit in the bank. Simply put, I guess what I'm saying is, because I rate you, you need to do something. I do want to ask you something else, Dan, but I've left your super chat Kyle Garner up for a while. Appreciate that, man. Make sure you're subscribed to Dan Potts. I can't imagine you're not. Eze is the signing that makes me believe we have a real chance at winning a major. I hope so. Whether Paul gets Isaac or not, another left winger is the dream, but I'm happy. Appreciative for that one there, man, if I'm honest with you. I do want to ask you, Dan, because you mentioned Madueke. Now, for me, I did feel initially at one point when we signed Madueke, while I don't get it per se beyond the obvious, because he does play in a position we need, and maybe that's kind of long-term thinking with maybe Trossard not being here next season. While I understood it, and I thought on one hand it might be backup, I did think as well, right, when do we spend 50 million on backup or a rotation option? Obviously, we've got Eze now, but I was kind of thinking about it. Now, I must admit, the Madueke signing looks a lot better with someone like Eze. Where are you at with Madueke in the first team fold? And you made a point as well about like Jesus and Havertz. When everybody's fit, excluding the Nelsons and them kind of ones, but Jesus could be here for a year, Havertz might be here for a year, and everyone else. We've got depth, but who is going to make that bench? Because there's a lot of wages. Like, there's a lot of wages, and only 9 man can be on that bench. So you need a goalie and some defenders. Like, what do you make of that on Madueke and potentially our bench?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a strong bench, bro, because people are looking at Ethan Nwaneri and Max as well coming through.
Yeah, even them.
On top of the players we've got. Okay, so when everyone's fit, David Raya in goal with Kepa as the goalkeeper. So that's the first sub, right? I think you're going to have one of Timber and White on the bench. I think it'll probably be Ben White. I think Timber is definitely the better right back. Saliba and Gabriel, there'll be one defender, probably Mosquera on the bench. If Kivior stays, it could be him, but I don't know what's happening with him, bro. We'll come on to that in a minute. Left back, I think Lewis Skelly starts for me. Calafiori's on the bench. Some people would switch that round, but I prefer Lewis Skelly. I think what he did against Real Madrid and PSG, and I understand he can get caught out, but trust me, so can Calafiori. Crikey, he goes wandering. That
Pick him up for United, though.
yeah, brilliant for United, actually. He was one of my favourite players, actually, at Man United, and a goal as well. But that's that. So in midfield, I think you're going to leave Norgard on the bench and have Zubamendi. I think Marino will be on the bench. You have Rice. And then you've got Erdegaard, who starts. I think you're going to have Ethan, maybe. Saka will play right. Madueke will back him up. And then I think you're going to have Eze starting. And then one of the Martinelli, probably, if he doesn't go, on the bench. And then up top, you've got Havertz on the bench for Gyökeres. So that's your 9 subs, unless I've counted that incorrectly. I think when everybody's fit. Bang on. I think when everybody's fit. So you've got, goalkeeper, defender, fullback, midfielder, attacking midfielder, winger, striker. Yeah, so there's 2 more that you can put on there as well, to be fair.
You got Gabriel Jesus as well, if fit. Havertz, I know you mentioned him, but if fit, I probably think we'll get on to Nwaneri, because I want to get on to him specifically. But Nwaneri, because of his age, you're not saying I would, but he might be, quote unquote, the easiest one to kind of leave out. Trossard or Martinelli. I thought both of them would be on the bench, but then obviously you killed the Madueke thing. And then, and if that is the case, Dan, like, regardless of Trossard signing a new deal and Martinelli rumors, because he's been linked with an 80 million move, like, do you feel one of them is still going to go this summer? Because surely if we are going to get Rodrygo, even more so now, if we have a chance, 1, maybe 2 got to go. And you also mentioned Kivior, who I think is cutting anyways, if I'm honest.
So let me answer the Kivior one first. I think it would be crazy to sell him and not bring anybody in. Because if you're not going to be bringing in a defender, let's say, it means you've got Tomiyasu and Kivior that have gone and just Mosquera that's come in, which means you're short again. Now, some people will say, no, we're not, because we've got Zinchenko. People need to please stop talking about Zinchenko playing at left back. We've got to stop this nonsense about Zinchenko playing at left back. He's not played there for months because Arteta don't rate him there anymore, yeah? I don't mind him playing into the central 8. I'm happy with midfield with him. I think he looks technically gifted there. But if people are going to be recognising him again as a left back, we're going backwards. So I think we need to have Calafiori and Lewis Skelly as left backs. Calafiori, who can play in the left-sided centre-back to cover for Gabriel, but Kivior's there really. Mosquera and Saliba, and then Timber and White. If you're going to get rid of Kivior, then have Calafiori and Gabriel as your left-sided centre-backs. That's fine. But Lewis Skelly and Zinchenko are then your left-backs. And that's a worry for me because both of those can get caught out and both of them, aren't really left-backs. So I think to not have a recognised left-back 7 years in is worrying, if I'm honest. However, that's perfection and putting cherry on the cake, and I think that we will do that in the summer. I just don't know what left backs people want. Like people are talking about go and get a left back, but there's only Nuno Mendes that I want, and he's not leaving PSG.
Yeah, we ain't got the bad money for that this window.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So maybe we could go and get him next summer and slap down 90 million for him, but we ain't going to be able to get him this summer. I think he's unreal. I wanted him at Sporting when he was at Sporting. I said, go and get that left back from Sporting, Nuno Mendes. Who's that? We know who he is now.
Now the world knows who he is.
Yeah, unbelievable. So that's what I think with that one. And then with what was the other question you asked me? Kivior was the first I said.
Kivior and the bench, because like you still got Jesus, and I understand there's injuries and whatnot, but from a financial point of view, whether it's Martinelli, Trossard,
Martinelli or Trossard.
Surely one's still got a cut. I don't know.
So if none of them leave, we ain't signing Rodrygo. If none of them leave, we're not signing Rodrygo. If someone comes in, let's say it's Saudi, the dream happens, 70 million for Martinelli. I think he goes, and then Rodrygo will come in, or somebody like that will come in.
Do you think he'd want to go, though, to Saudi in a World Cup?
I don't really. But I think we're going to have to say to him, you're off, because you can't, you're not going to get 70 M's for Martinelli when he's on 180k. The only clubs that can afford Martinelli's wages are over in Saudi, if I'm honest. Because there's no way that Real Madrid or Bayern Munich are going to go, right, let's get this Martinelli, and crikey, I ain't paying him that. So, do you know what I mean? We've put him on this ridiculous sum. When I think he was on about 30k, we stuck him on 180. I mean, like, why do we do this? What would have been wrong with 70? Man. I mean, what would have been wrong from going from 30 grand to 75? But we don't. We go 180. Crikey. It's really bizarre, our wages. But yeah, I think that is the potential. If I had to be honest and put money on it, I think we're done. I think there's outgoings and we're done. And I think Martinelli and Trossard both stay. And I think Eze is their left winger for now. That's what I think will happen. And people will say, well, what about Eze? Where's he going to play if we bring in Rodrygo? Brilliant, isn't it? Ain't that good?
Everyone else seems to. Liverpool make it work. City make it work. Chelsea damn well got to make it work. Bro. Let's make it work, man.
We used to make it work, DG.
We used to be sick of great players.
When we were young, when we were at Highbury, who did we go and sign when we just pretty much won everything? We had Pires, went and signed Reyes. Yeah. We had Van Persie and Fabregas coming through. Yeah, RIP. We had Henry and Bergkamp started. We had Kanu and Wiltord. No one was asking where they're going to play. At right wing, we had Parler and Lundberg. No one was saying, where's Parler going to play? Where's Edu going to play? Where's Gilberto Silva going to play? Where's Clichy going to start? How's Clichy going to get into this team? No one was saying that. We were going and winning because we had a squad. And trust me, you think Eze's not going to play games? You think Ethan's not going to play games? We've got 4 competitions, bro. We want to go and win all of them. So we need a squad, bro. Need a squad.
You've been indirectly touching on it, and obviously Romano and everybody's confirming about Eze. I want to ask you one thing before I ask you where this man plays. Once we get beyond the glitz and glamour, if we just assume he plays left wing, some people say, yeah, I'm gassed about Eze. He can help us. He's a level raiser. They maintain all those positive things. We love it. And it's also, the main thing is that he's a great player. The others is that he's former Hayland. He's rejected Spurs. We didn't think we was going to get a player, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But some would say, rightly so, is he a signing that we actually need, as mad as that is? Like, is he going to be the long-term left wing? Is Mikel Arteta going to change anything in midfield to start Eze? Is he going to come in for Odegaard or rotate with Odegaard or potentially cause Mikel Arteta to drop him? He can actually play as a false 9 as well. Like, do you think he actually fixes anything? And where do you actually think he plays, man? Because I think this is a mad signing. Like, I need to see this work.
Yeah, I think it will work. And I'll tell you why. He might not play every single game, but I don't think that anyone's faith in this side at the moment. And that's what we want. I don't think you can say, well, this is the first 11 and no one gets in that 11 until one of them gets injured. I don't think it's like that. I really don't. You're going to get injuries. You're going to get suspensions as part of the game, as we saw last season. So we know he's going to get games. What's he going to bring? He's going to help us in low blocks because we need that. We need that, right? If you look at the stats.
Even the United game showed what we could do with Eze.
Precisely, but absolute great point. Yeah, and I think at the weekend, I think Leeds are going to potentially do something similar. So we're going to struggle to break them down a bit in the first 2025, no doubt. So I think when you look at that, he's going to help us with low blocks. The other thing he's going to do is he shoots from outside the box and scores from outside the box. That's something we don't have in our team. No one shoots. It's all the perfect goal. It's all flicking it over the top or going out wide or delivering it into the box.
Free kicks as well. He's amazing, man.
Unbelievable set piece taker. Great from outside the box. Great from inside inside the box in terms of getting on the end of stuff as well. So he's going to score all sorts of goals or be in position to score all sorts of goals. The other thing that he's going to do is allow versatility. So let's just say, for example, he starts his first game at Arsenal in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully he comes in today and he starts on the left wing. And people are like, not sure it's working for him out there, because there has been games for Palace where it hasn't worked for him. It's been brilliant cutting inside it, but sometimes he's been isolated a bit. So let's just say Declan Rice does ankle tweak and he's going to be out for the next game, right? Yeah, God forbid. He does an ankle tweak, he's out for the next game, he's back the one after. Zubomendi can play 6, Ødegaard can play 8, and Eze can come into creative midfield. Or Ødegaard stays in the 10 and Eze can play attacking 8.
Or they're both 8s.
Yeah, or they're both 8. So for me, that is why Eze could be so important for us this season. So those that are thinking he ain't really going to play, he's going to play on the left, ain't really going to work, ain't really a winger, not really going to see much of him unless Ødegaard gets injured. I do think it's waffle, if I'm honest, because we've already seen in the first game that Mikel Arteta has rotated of a couple of things that I was surprised by. In terms of the fullbacks, in terms of, Havertz and Madueke. We've seen with pre-season how Norgard started a few games. Marino started a lot more than I thought. Now, some of that absolutely is to get them fit, and I'm not deluded and naive enough to think that is the case. But at the same time, I do think that he's going to go more with rotation this season, because I think he's going to learn from last season. So far, what I've seen is the amount of injuries we got. I don't think he can overplay the players we've got. And on top of that, we've got 3 or 4 of them that are coming back from long-term injuries, not just an ankle tweak. We're talking about scars down their hamstrings.
Our 2 right backs and our right winger. I'll start with.
Facts, bro. The other day, I don't think Timber and White were part of the opening training session because of that. So we have to now look at it and be serious and say, right, there's definitely players that aren't quite 100% yet. And that will come in the coming weeks. But we can't flog them all already. We've got to be careful. We've got the squad, use it. And this is one thing I will say about Arteta that has frustrated me over the years, not just last season. He hasn't trusted his squad. How many times have we had Vieira there not used, Smith Rowe not used, Nelson not used, Sterling not used? Because they were all sitting on the bench fit, but he was going with Saka, who was half fit, because he didn't rate the others. You've got to rate your squad now. He's got to use Madueke. He's got to use Eze. He's got to use Marino. He's got to use Ethan. I need to see this, man, because if I don't see it, I'm going to be frustrated again, thinking this guy's not learnt. So he has to trust his squad, and I think he will this season. I think he has to, bro.
He's got no choice, man. And I'm keen with Eze. As much as I feel right now, the easiest inroad for Eze is probably off that left. Long term, I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't really care where he plays, because I know on paper you could stick him left wing, and in the game it's a very different thing. But I'd love to see him in midfield, whether that is on the left-hand side, and that obviously adds pressure to Mikel Arteta to fix that left-hand side and stop making us lopsided. Or do you put him on the right-hand side where he could link up with Timber or White and obviously Bukayo and all of those kind of things? Or do you keep him on the left in midfield? And do you actually change your midfield? Do Rice and Zubomendi potentially have to play every game? Could we get back to not quite Wenger ball, but you've got all of those kind of players? Then you throw Wanyeri into the mix. We've got different solutions, whether it's in-game, whether it's rotating, whether it's genuinely being kind of competitive. And I want to ask you this, because it is like as exciting as it is, and I've maintained this position on your platform, on my platform, obviously where you look at getting better as a team, and maybe it's the England thing, and improving. Everybody finds it sexy with signings. And of course, I would rather hear about signing Eze, Zubomendi, Gyökeres in particular, than what Mikel Arteta is doing on the training ground. But those things are as important, if not more. You can buy the clothes. If you don't know how to tie a tie and whatnot, there's issues. And I can't sit here and talk about, low blocks and U-shaped football and needing to play football, in a more entertaining manner. It feels like the whole world, after beating Man United, wants to tell Arsenal about that kind of stuff, when our manager, our players and our fans have been echoing this forever. Like, do you think it adds more pressure on Mikel Arteta to fix the attacking kind of issues in our team, especially when you've got a Gyökeres who's bagged, which I think everyone keeps forgetting, who's bagged for his country, bagged for Sporting, obviously bagged for Coventry, comes into this team, if he doesn't score, there's pressure. Obviously, there's Eze. We will need to see Ødegaard back in form. We always say to ourselves, if we, kind of fix that, how good Saka would be. So it's like, How much faith do you have in Arteta to kind of change our attacking play or get the best out of all of our team and create from all angles? And how much pressure do you think these signings add to that?
There's only 2 questions he's got to answer, DG. The first one is, can you get us across the line, which we discussed earlier? The other question is, and I think it's a simple question for the last one, can you get this attack working? That is literally the only 2 questions that he's got to answer. Because if he does those 2 things and he gets the attack firing and we're scoring goals, it means we're going to win games. It means we're going to win trophies. He's just killed 2 birds, 1 stone. Get this attack working. There's no reason why we can't win trophies. Because you can't tell me, bruv, yeah, that Odegaard best season at 15 goals. Saka scores like, 30 GA. You've got Havertz, who got 14 when he was fit. Gyökeres has just scored 102. Eze gets about 15 goals and assists. Martinelli got the similar a couple of years ago. You're telling me none of them can score goals? You can't get any of these working. They're all clowns. They're all donkeys in front of goal. No, it's the opposite. They're fire in front of goal. The problem is he's gone so PTSD with his possession-based football that it's just like fling it into the box, don't lose the game, don't go all out attack because you'll leave yourself exposed. He needs to let the shackles off, man. He needs to let us be free-flowing because 1, it makes it better for the fans to watch, and 2, you start scoring goals, believe it or not. So I always said about Arsene Wenger, no matter what people said about him, defensively he was a shambles towards the end, but he weren't a shambles in front of goal. We were brilliant to watch. We were always scary on the break, on the counter. And
Only
I think
Barcelona could talk to us in terms of football at a point.
Okay, exactly. So, and that was attractive. Even Pep Guardiola said, I wouldn't want to play Arsenal because they're the only ones that are like us. And we beat them in the Emirates 2-1, the Arshavin goal, right? I know we lost in the second leg. But when I look at the scenario of attacking, I think this Arsenal team right now has everything in place for it to attack. Not because we've got good attackers, because we've got a defense that's reliable. So if I said to you right now, we've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 players at the back that are all a little bit suspect, I would understand why he might want to go keep the ball possession, fling it into the box, keep it tight, resolute. Let's not go forward too much because these 4 can't defend. We've got Zubimendi and Rice and the best back 4 and a Golden Glove goalkeeper.
2 years in a row.
Forward, man. Let them go forward. Let Eze express. Let Odegaard do his thing. Let Saka go forward. Let Martinelli off the shackles. Let Gyökeres into the box. This is what
even Zubimendi and Rice got a lot to contribute in that, in the middle and final third. We got the tools. Madueke as well, Wanyeri as well. We got the tools. Even Calafiori and Lewis Skelly and Raya's ball playing ability. We got the tools.
Facts,
and he has to know this. He must know this. He's not an idiot. He's got, you're getting 15 million a year. You got your pro license. You've been here for a while. Make it work. It's one thing buying the ingredients. It's another thing cooking them, Dan. Surely.
Facts, bro. Look, I couldn't agree more. I think it's time, and I hope we do it, man. If we do it, I really hope.
I might cry, bro.
Yeah, I really hope, man. I just pray that we do it this season, man. I pray that we do it, and I'll be the happiest gooner ever. Trust me.
We have to, man. We've got little to no chance, man. I did want to ask you something else, as you can see with the tabs, yeah. The first I want to ask you is about Morgan Rogers. We've been linked with Morgan Rogers. Like, would you have, even with Eze, would you have Morgan Rogers? Do you think we'll get Morgan Rogers?
I don't think we will get him, but I would take him tomorrow. I think the player is unbelievable. I actually do think he's more of a central attacking 8 than a winger, but he can play wide. Very similar to Eze, to be fair. But the reason why... Yeah, so the reason I don't think we'll get him is because we've got Eze. I can't see that one. If anyone comes in, I think it'll be an out-and-out left winger now.
Which is true. And that takes me to Rodrygo. Like, do you think we could do a loan with an option to buy or obligation? Do you think, if we get some sales, we'll get the guy? Do you think we could pull another rabbit out the hat and get the guy regardless?
If it's true that he wants to leave Real Madrid, Arsenal should be all out for him alongside the likes of Liverpool and City, because I think all 3 will go for him. Whether he chooses us, I don't know. That's Berta's decision to make. That's Berta's, responsibility. And I don't think it will be a loan. I think it will be a permanent move, and I think we'll have to lump like 90 million euro bid down for it to happen. I don't know if he wants to leave Real Madrid. I know he hasn't started. He's played 90 minutes in 7 games, which is scary. So he's clearly not wanted there. And I think he does want to come be top dog. I think if Savio goes to Spurs, he goes to City. And I think if Savio stays at City, Rodrygo will come to Liverpool or Arsenal. Because I think all 3 teams will be in for him. And we got to make sure it's us, man.
Imagine that, bro. Imagine having Eze, Rodrygo, Gyökeres, and Wanyeri. The list goes on. I'm missing out names. Even if all these guys are on the pitch and they're struggling, Madueke and whatnot coming off the bench, that's actually something. Like, obviously, nobody wants to be on the bench and all of those things. But like, there's one thing that I'm probably a broken record when I speak to you about. I think we put players that I don't think any of our players are necessarily bad. I just think we take guys that should be on the peripheral. We start making them rotationary players that are rotationary options. We start making them regulars. And, you know, we don't lose that many games throughout a season, but when it truly matters, we get to see why kind of we're building our house on the sand, if that makes sense. So I guess what I'm alluding to is Rodrygo's one thing, but if you got Eze and we assume he just plays as a left winger to go with Gyökeres, they're immediately better than the options of last season, right? Do you think you could then see, if they do stay, a better Trossard, a better Martinelli, maybe it's a bit harsh with Kai, but a better Kai, because the burden's less on you. You kind of might be able to come off the bench and nick games. If you do get an occasional start, there's other quality. And we do talk about needing a squad in it. Like, you look at someone like Liverpool with Origi. I guess he might be a Liverpool legend, or he's in folklore. Now, I'm sure his record isn't the best. He might have only scored 10 goals, but 9 of the 10 goals could have been in cup finals or must-win and close-knit games. I kind of think we've deviated away from that, even when you look at Jesus and Zinchenko. So, like, for those kind of Trossards, Martinellis, and maybe, well, Madueke ain't been here, but Kai Havertz, Marino, do you think we'll see them play better because they've naturally kind of been demoted, even though it's a long season?
There'll be two things if that happens. One, the manager letting them play. That's the first thing, as we mentioned. And secondly, I think there's less pressure on some players now because of these signings coming in. There's more pressure on others. And believe it or not, I'm not actually going to say the pressure's on the new players, because there should never be pressure on new players who just walked in the door, right? There should be 6 months in, but certainly not 6 games in, right? We've got to give them a bit of time to adjust or whatever, right?
You're seeing the talk with Gyökeres.
Facts. Yeah, facts. I mean, look at Florian Wirtz. No one's talking about him stinking out the gaff. It's all about Gyökeres, right? But he hasn't done anything either yet. So
ain't even had a pre-season, really, but fair.
Yeah. So when I look at it, there's less pressure on Kai Havertz now because Gyökeres is here. There's less pressure on the likes of Martinelli and co because Eze's come in, right? But I tell you what, there's more pressure on is our captain. There's the most pressure on Martin Odegaard to have a good season. And I'll tell you why, not just because he had a bad season. Yeah. You got players that want to take his place, so there's pressure on him to keep his position. You've got no excuses for him because he's got a striker to feed. He's got Rice doing all the running and the engine next to him. He's got Zubimendi doing the defensive work, so don't cross that halfway line. No need. You've got Saka and Eze now that are balling out either side. There is zero excuses for Martin Odegaard to have a 4 out of 10 season again. It's got to be a 7 or an 8 or a 9 for him because he's got everything surrounded. If you're an attacking midfielder,
and he's got the ability, man.
Well, he's got the ability, but he's also got the players around him. Because people used to say, didn't they? Oh, Mesut Ozil just needs a striker to feed. He needs a winger. He needs this, that, and the third. Odegaard's got a better team around him than Ozil had. Other than Sanchez,
everything.
Let's be real. Other than Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil. I mean, like, I like Theo Walcott, but he's not Saka. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I like Granit Xhaka, but he's not Declan Rice. So when you look at the players he's got around him, Gyökeres instead of Olivier Giroud. Now, Giroud's a good player, but he was never going to get 25, 30 goals for Arsenal. So when you look at what Ozil was doing and they were like, I need the players around him, you could actually excuse that and go, yeah, he hasn't really, has he got the right players around him? Look at what Odegaard's got around him. Eze, Martinelli, Saka, Ethan.
Some sexy options.
Gyökeres, Zubimendi, Rice. Come on, man. He's got to have a good year. Got to.
See, and even that, yeah, even though I don't want to see, like, Nwaneri wasn't assured minutes, but you got Nwaneri, you got Eze, you got yourself, Odegaard. I'm not saying I necessarily want to see Kai Havertz in midfield, but a fit Kai is an option. While I think, you know, where you look at the Nwaneris, the Ezes, the Odegaards, they're more hybrid midfielders to me. The more pure traditional centre mids at our club right now is probably Norgard, Rice, Zubimendi. I think when you just ban them as midfielders, there's competition for places. And like you said, you know, nobody's, unless your name's Saka and probably the 2 centre-halves and Raya, you can make a case of you might not necessarily always be a starter. I would actually say Rice as well, because I wouldn't feel comfortable with Rice not being in the side. So you make a good point, Dan. Obviously, Kai Havertz is injured, and some people are saying build him a trophy because they think he's faking the injury to get Eze through the door, in which pick him up. Like, do you think this is a bit of pill to swallow? Because I do think, you know, some fans are hypocritical in a sense of you can't diss Kai Havertz. And then when the injury thing comes out, you're acting all scared and whatnot. Like, you clearly rate him more than you led on. Me personally, I'm a bit nervous about this because I do think, while I like the other players, I think there's a role for Kai in this squad. And I'm a bit nervous because I'm sure Arteta will be asked later today about it in a press conference, but we don't know the timeline of this. And he's coming back from a long-term injury. But where are you at with, obviously, Kai picking this up?
So 2 things on this. I don't know how long he's out for. Doesn't sound very
Scary.
pretty, but it doesn't sound like he's out for a couple of weeks. So I don't know yet. I don't want to say it's ACL. I don't want to say it's a couple of months or longer. But if we are actively in the market, it doesn't sound good. What I will say, though, I don't think we've got Eze because Havertz is injured. Now, I know David Ornstein has said this and a few others. This is like saying, Declan Rice is injured. We better go and sign another right back.
It's naive.
Because, like, let's be real, Eze's not a striker. So there's only 2 things I can think is we brought in Eze and we're playing Trossard as the striker, or we brought in Eze and we're bringing somebody else in. They're the only 2 options. So I don't think that Havertz getting injured has meant, right, we better go and get Eze. Because apparently we wanted Eze on the 10th of August. Havertz wasn't injured then. So I think that this is on top. So David Ornstein's saying Arsenal are in the market for another attacker. This is why I'm thinking one more is going to come in, bro, alongside Eze. Once we get rid of that
again. Wait, he said that.
He said it the other day when he got injured. Then Eze come in and people were like, there we go, it's Eze. I do not think that we are done because Eze was apparently. So first of all, David Ornstein says we're going into the striker market when we sign Eze, and everyone goes, "Wait, there's our striker." When was Eze a last striker, bro? He's not a striker. We signed him on the 10th of August from what we were saying. We were told yesterday. The Telegraph said we'd agreed it on the 10th. We just kept it quiet. So there's no way.
Things irrelevant.
Yeah, so it's either Rodrygo, because he's an attacker, that can play wide forward or centrally or right, or we're going to go and get somebody that might be less exciting. Like, I don't know, Mateta, Vissa, or it looks like he's going to go now. Watkins.
I don't mind Vissa in the squad. Or
I don't know. I'd go for Bowen, me. That's the one I'd go for.
That's a shout. That's a shout. If he wants to come and compete, Bowen, you're allowed. And we could even give you Reece Nelson, Kivior, Zinchenko, take your pick. Pauli Gunner, one love for the super chat as well in relation to Rodrygo. Dan, you're bang on there. Like, there's nothing else I can say. One thing I did want to ask you, though, is like, the Trossard thing was a bit confusing. Like, why do you think he got a new deal?
I don't know. And
terms.
I tried to ask my questions to this that people say I talk rubbish and know what I'm talking about. So I asked the chat to ask me and they didn't know either. So no one had a clue what was going on here. Judges made a little bit more sense of it though. And from what I'm understanding is he did actually extend, but didn't extend. So from what judges understand of it was
in contract.
Yeah. So it weren't length by like he signed another 4 years. It was we'd basically activated the option. So his contract was going to run out in 2026. And there was an option on top of it to go to 2027.
Okay.
So he's got the option now with a pay rise to 2027 instead of just keeping him to 2026 and letting him go on a free. So obviously, I imagine that made sense with the Havertz injury. So Havertz getting injured meant that Trossard now stays for a couple of years. That's in the back of my mind what I'm thinking can make sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Why would you give someone just a pay rise for the fun of it and no one else? Like,
where you need to clear ranks as well, anyways, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought Trossard was leaving now. So I think they were like, Trossard can go. Oh, Havertz got injury. We better get him signed. He's going to have to stay for another year. That's what I think has probably happened. So whether that means we're still in the market or not now, I don't know.
I got to ask you about Nwaneri, man. Obviously, we're Arsenal Football Club. We need to have competition for places. And for me, I'm happy with Eze because I want the best of both worlds. I want Nwaneri to be given every opportunity and develop. But as talented as he is, he's 18. It's very different an 18-year-old coming off the bench or playing well in an occasional game with the respect for him to me knowing I'm going to get that for 10 games or in high-pressure moments. And naturally, this is things you should have as a young player. I think for Nwaneri, I mean, the next step for you is obviously when you get your chance and take it, this is bang on the money, Aaron, I believe, with the Foden route. But as I was saying, I think the next step for me with Nwaneri is you've got to affect the game consistently across 90 minutes. I think more time than not, that hasn't been the case. Leicester away is probably the one I was like, yeah, he was a constant threat. What do you make of Nwaneri's kind of minutes this season in the Premier League specifically? Because I know he's going to play in the Cup and do all of that.
Yeah, I'm not worried because I rate Ethan highly. And I think Ethan will burst the door down like Miles Lewis Skelly did. Now, I don't know who that's in place of. I don't know if it's instead of Ødegaard or if Saka needs a rest or if it's coming in a different position. But I trust in this kid so much, man. I got so much love for him. I think he's an absolute baller. People have overlooked him because of how good Saka is and Eze coming in and Max Dowman coming through. This is only good for Ethan because people are going to take the pressure off of him. I think he's going to have a brilliant season, and I've tipped him to get Young Player of the Year for me. I think Ethan is an absolute baller.
I am with that. It's a World Cup year, Dan. Hopefully.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. He's going to get games, man. People worried about it. He's going to play in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. And I think he'll get Champions League minutes and Premier League minutes as well in terms from the bench. So I've got no problem with Ethan. I think he's good enough, mate.
Do you know what's funny as well? Yeah. And when I think of Nwaneri, I think of a long-term 10 or 8. I think last season you could have got minutes and a bit of an education off the left. Obviously, Madueke and, you know, other options might change this, but I still think right wing's an option. But I always remember when Mikel Arteta said, listen, this guy could be a striker. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know if they see that as his best position, but kind of what you've been saying, piggybacking off it, maybe he's an option. Now, don't get twisted. I expect to see Trossard, Marino, I think Kai Havertz before him. But it's a very interesting thing. My last thing for you, Dan, yeah. Tim Lewis seems to be getting a bit of positive PR. Like we draw him out all the time and get at the board, but apparently Steve Parris has a closer relationship with Tim Lewis than Daniel Levy. Even if they often bicker, they WhatsApp a lot about regulations and in-game issues. This helped accelerate the Eze deal. Now, and apparently, you know, they're carrying on with the PR stuff. Josh Kroenke being in the UK helped massively in Arsenal signing Eze. Mikel Arteta and Berta delivered an undeniable pitch in person. Some at the club raised PSR concerns, but Kroenke stood firmly with Arteta and gave the green light. Where Tim Lewis and Kroenke are concerned, do you think they're changing their image? Do you buy this? Do you think this is just an opportunity to paint them in a good light? Because people, when they kind of strip it down, people could say, you know what, we can criticize Arteta, but his heart's in the right place. There's only so much Berta can do, but his heart's in the right place. It's more the regime. Where are you at with that?
Well, look, if I've let you down 20 times and then once I've given you what you need, you're going to say cheers for that one, but what happened to the other 19 times, yeah? So that's where I'm at with this lot. Tim Lewis, I mean, crikey, he needs to either go get some serious clippers and do
number one. Turkey, should go Turkey.
Or go to Turkey, bro. Look at it. I mean, crikey. Look, I'm going to say fair play to the guys behind the scenes for getting Eze and Gyökeres over the line because they're the two that I wanted, right? Zubimendi was one that I think is coming in without a doubt, but I think, you know, me, Curtis, and Turkish all said the same 3 players, Eze, Rodrygo, and Gyökeres. We've got 2 of them. Let's go and get the other one because that will be like unbelievable window then, right? But I'm not going to start praising them all and saying they're fantastic now. They've turned a corner. They've done what we needed. They've shown ambition. Let's just calm down with that. Yeah,
you got to make this the minimum.
This is the bare minimum expectation, yeah, for me. So Rodrygo, I'll start giving everybody all their plaudits, man, because it's been a fantastic window. But until then, I'm keeping my powder dry, man.
You know what? Fair play. I'm happy about Eze. Would love to see him play against Leeds or be involved at Leeds or at a minimum be, you know, announced to the fans holding shirts. We score a bunch of goals and then his Arsenal career starts at Liverpool. And it's a romantic story. We've made some good signings. Let's get some outgoings in. Let's try for Rodrygo or one more. And then we see, man, as I always say on this platform, I can't guarantee if Arsenal are going to be a success or a complete failure, but we're all going to be here all the way, man. And with that being said, though, people, like, I'm going to let Dan get out of here. Dan, what content you got to come up today? And
yeah, there's some clips today. I'm off to watch Coldplay till later, so I'm not going to be about that.
Safe journey.
Yeah, so I'm going to watch them. They're pretty good if no one's been, by the way. I don't know if people are into that or not, but if you're into that, I'd go suggest it. For entertainment, there's no one better.
Nice to see you get some enjoyment for once, Dan.
Yeah, man, it's class. Bit of break from football for today, and then obviously tomorrow I'm at the game. So yeah, there'll be content coming out over the weekend for the Leeds and Arsenal stuff, man. So big up, bro.
Exactly, man. Big up, Dan. Make sure you're subscribing. The man's pumping out content. You know, he's getting women speaking about the women's game. Obviously, he's got the Arsenal panel shows, the other club shows, the one-to-one gooners. The man's a one-man band, innit? We'll be back on his platform next week, people. Hopefully, we've got even more positive news by the time we go over there. So, yeah, man, you lot stay safe, stay blessed. Subscribe to Dan. Everything's in the title. Dan, enjoy, man. Enjoy. One love, my guy. Come on. People, don't forget to subscribe. Smash the like button. Come on, you Gunners. Hopefully we win tomorrow. We're out. Done now.
Always